Unaendelea kutazama Citizen Town Hall ndani ya Monday Report, ambapo tunajadili masuala mbalimbali haswa yanayohusiana na hasira na jinsi ya kupambana tu na mazonge yanayotokana na kupitia hali ambazo zinaweza kusemekana ni za kuhatarisha ama za kuogofya. Na awali tulikuwa tunazungumzia yale ambayo wamepitia wanajeshi. Sasa tunataka kuangalia yale ambayo yanapitiwa na maafisa wa polisi na haswa familia zao. Dennis, simama. Dennis anasema babake alikuwa afisa wa polisi. Hebu tuambie maisha yalikuwaje nyumbani?
Let me say that being in the police office, you'll find that most of the time the parents don't have enough time to be able to converse and interact with their children and their families at home. You find that at times they are sent to some marginalized areas, and whereby they get a very short time to be able to come back at home. And whereby you may even find that even the little time they have, they are forced or they are called back to go back on duty. And you find that they have very little time to be able to spend with their families. Also, you find that the way they have been trained is they have been hardened in such a way that even when a child tries to approach the parent, they feel so intimidated, so that they cannot be able to face the parent and even explain the challenges or problems they are facing. You also find that even when they approach them, the parents look at them as though they are very matters which are not weighty. And therefore, just my question is, how are you enhancing the training on these police officers so that at least they can be able to understand the part of their service and also how they are able to interact with their families in order for them to be able to raise their children and give them that parental care that is required? Thank you.
Senior Superintendent, I think that's for you. Hebu unaweza kujibu kabla tuende kwa lingine.
Okay, thank you. It's true that police officers are mostly away from their families because of the nature of work. But you find that the service has taken measures, for example, in helping officers deal with stresses through stress management training courses, and they go for maybe promotional courses, and when they are going for different training courses, they have some training on stress management and also able to identify post-traumatic stress disorder in some of those trainings that they undergo. We're also trying to enhance the issue of family values within the service. So you find that the commanders themselves also encourage their officers to take time to visit their families. So you find that those who probably have experiences and they don't want to spend much time with their families, but there are those who actually take the steps to spend time with their families.
Na kuna swali lingine hapa kutoka kwa Christopher. Simama tafadhali, ambalo bado ni lako.
Okay, my concern was going to the... Okay, sorry, my name is Christopher Odhiambo, and I'm from St. Paul's University. So my concern is to the police service on the policies. You know, police is an independent institution. So are there policies that guide these police officers on what circumstances to carry the firearms? Because most of them who are stressed and move away from the police camps go and commit this, suicide at their homes. That is, they do it after killing their spouses and children. So what is the police force doing to monitor on what areas are they supposed to carry these firearms? Because that is what disheartens the nation at the moment.
Maybe could he please rephrase the question, please?
His question is, are there any policies that guide the officers on where and when they can carry their firearms?
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Actually, we have standing operating procedures, and we have a Firearms Act and National Police Service Act that cater how police officers should engage themselves or use their firearms. So you find that probably sometimes when the officers commit the suicide and the murders, probably they had the firearms while on duty or while going on duty or getting off duty. So you find that they have easy access to the firearm at that point, and they're able to conduct either suicide or murders in case they had planned for it. So I can say there are policies in place, and the commanders have the duty to be able to implement those policies.
Milka uko upande gani? Alikuwa na swali lingine kuhusiana na masuala yanayofungamana na kile ambacho tunajadili. Simama tafadhali.
Asante sana. Milka, country yenye tunaishi sasa, we all act as if we are coming from better homes. Everything is okay. And at the end of the day, we end up killing each other and destroying each other. What makes us, or what makes other people, una behave ni kama uko sawa, lakini at the end of the day, there's something eating you inside. And how can we know if a person has such problem? Because we are living in a society that sitaki kuonekana niko na shida, or I'm good, everything is working out smart for me. Thank you.
Dr. Gitao?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I guess now we are talking because the life skills, basic life skills that you're hearing, the new curriculum emphasizing for all children in school and even the ones in the universities, if they were actually taught practically from that age of 0 to 6 going upwards, they are so basic as they sound, but if they are practical, even when you grow up, even if we listen to Byron and Mukuria here, you might get there were some things that were happening when they were growing up. If I have been equipped with basic life skills, like self-awareness, I need to know myself. That right now I'm getting angry. Right now I'm hurt. Right now I'm in so much rage. I could do something that I can't believe I'm doing. And even telling it from the body. We said the body is 99.9% true about what is happening within you. So we could begin with self-awareness. And then we come to interpersonal relationships. Those people that are close to you, they know you. They can tell you have changed. They can tell that Evelyn these days is very quiet. And even if he's an introverted person, the quietness, the silence is so loud. You can even hear the drop of a pin. So the interpersonal relationships again, do I know how to express my feelings? And I think communication has become a very big block to us expressing how we feel. And I think it's a high time we allowed ourselves, our children, to talk. Let's talk. In fact, our work is so easy when our clients talk. It becomes difficult when they don't talk. Because when you talk, there is a way you relieve what is inside you. We have people who are blocked with problem-solving skills. Can I analyze a problem that I'm facing? And if I analyze, and that's also, again, the work we do, we help you. We don't actually solve your problems. We help you to analyze your own problems. What about critical thinking? Creative thinking? Yeah, like you had it. Byron, you had it because you realized you were given high-skilled training. Even if you had been classically conditioned to serve the nation, to stand in the line for other people, you knew you could do this in another way. I am not saying we take off the responsibility from the veterans, maybe administration policies that maybe we are planning to have in this country. I hope so. But it is important for us to know if you lack in basic life skills, you are so vulnerable to becoming emotionally unstable and causing conflict or even violence. There is a saying today that emotional intelligence is even far much better than intellectual abilities. And it basically means that I am able to listen to myself. I am aware of my feelings, my thoughts in the here and now, and what I'm likely to do. If I am in touch with that, I don't even need anybody to come and tell me that you're likely to cause damage. I'm already aware, and I need to know what to do. Apparently, we have so many people who are stressed up, who are traumatized, but what they do every day is to fight it. I don't fight it, however painful it is. When he stopped fighting it, that is when his healing process began. But we fight. We don't want to be ashamed. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be stigmatized. We don't want to be told we are weak. So we deny our pain. And we will mask it with suppression, or we are going to take drugs, or we are going to be violent, or we are going to divorce, we are going to separate, we are going to dehumanize other people. And apparently that is how our nation has turned out to be. Nobody also cares for the other. Because if you are stressed and there is a support system, I'm sure if we asked you, there was a support system. And I wonder who that was for you. And even him, even if it was from the church, the family today needs to know, if you are there ready for your loved one, things can never go wrong. And you don't have to also be hyper like them. Somebody who is so stressed gets to a home where the wife is so stressed, the children are so stressed. What do you expect in that home? But I would like to tell all that are watching us tonight, if you have a family member, if you have a classmate for those that are in universities, if you have a friend and you're able to tell they are actually stressed, try as much as possible to embody calmness within yourself. There is a way you start sending the energies that are calm and positive, and that is what you received. Somebody telling you, I love you. We don't have to be psychologists, all of us in this country, but we can have people who can learn to have compassion. Compassion goes beyond seeing somebody suffering and desiring to do something about that suffering. And believe you me, if everybody woke up and said, I want to alleviate pain from somebody else, either by being there, by being mindful. For the people who are in the policy-making desks, I want to push for a policy that in this nation, there are people who suffer more than others. Can I be there and be an advocate without fighting? Because you don't have to keep fighting in this nation when we know what needs to be done. And if you also don't know, don't be embarrassed. Again, we are going to say you are stressed. Say you need support. Can we have people who are going also to be willing in this nation to say, I don't know that. Can I get support?
All right.
And I believe we can be someone.
Get more support. Yeah, Mashirima.
Naam, Dr. Gitau, katika yale mambo yote ambayo umesema, kuna wawili ambao wangependa kuongezea tu kupitia kwa maswali yao. Wendy, simama tafadhali. Dr. Gitau unasema tuongee.
Okay,
wazazi na watoto wanazungumza.
Okay, my name is Wendy B from St. Paul's, and I'm asking, like, you see, so many children or youths nowadays, they're suffering from depression and stress, and once you go tell your parent, your mom or your dad, like, Mom, I have stress, then they'll ask you, uko na stress ya nini na wewe ni mdogo. So you'll find at the end of the day, like, you'll be afraid of telling them what you're going through or what is happening in your life, because instead of them helping you, they're now questioning you. So you have that fear, and then you have the boundaries when you're speaking to your elders. So you'll find out, like, it's so difficult for you to talk to them. And even when you share with your friends, you'll find that most of your friends will just tell you, like, the common slang of nowadays, ni life. So when you're talking to your fellow friends or maybe the siblings, they'll tell you ni life, itaisha, itapotea. But deep inside you, you're suffering and you don't know what to do. So again, the worry goes back to the parents, from how they raise us, from how they're supposed to deal with us, from how the child grows.
Manake wana saikolojia ni wengi hapo, labda Major Retired Mukuria unaweza kulijibu hilo swali.
Thank you so much. Listening to her, I thought about how you can only parent the way you are parented. And so sometimes to be able to understand how your parent parents you, you have to be able to understand how they were parented. When you come of age, that is. And what is happening today is that the young people who are realizing early enough that the way their parents parented them is the best way they knew how to parent are the ones who are now cutting away and making a way for themselves in appreciation to their parents for doing the best that they could do with what they had, with what they knew, right? Because nothing comes out of nothing. I cannot be a loving and compassionate parent if I'm broken. It's not possible. And that is why to be able to have support structures that even support parents be better parents is something I'm very passionate about. My treatment programs have to involve veterans being engaged in parenting coaching, because you have to teach people actually how to be good parents. But given the place where you are right now, please think about what I've said before and put it into consideration. Because what happens is that when we are busy judging our parents for how they did not parent us, we become parents ourselves. And then if we have not been able to evolve ourselves in the parenting model, then we just go back to the default settings of how we were parented, and we end up parenting our children the way we were parented, and the cycle continues. I like the idea of self-awareness, to be able to know what is festering inside me, what is moving inside me in terms of my thoughts and my emotions. Where are they driving me? What are the consequences of those going to be? And how do I call myself back? How do I step myself down? How do I moderate my feelings? How am I able to process all that? Very important things that have to do with you being very intentional about your mental health care.
Okay.
Turejee tena kwa wanajeshi kidogo, labda hili swali linaweza kujibiwa na Byron hapo. Simama mami. Tuambie jina lako alafu tueleze maoni yako ni yapi haswa kuhusiana na wale ambao wanafanya kazi kama afisa wa ulinzi.
Asante sana. Kwa majina naitwa Rosemary Otieno. I'm a wife of a military veteran. Na swali yangu nilikuwa nimeuliza, it's like I would want to take it to Major. What preparation is the military fraternity, I suppose also maybe in the police force, are doing to the women or the wives of the officers, and especially for the transition of retirement? Because I would call myself a civilian for that case, but here is a case whereby you are giving me a veteran who maybe doesn't know how the civilian world look like. How do I deal with him? And especially when it comes to his mental health, or maybe bearing in mind that I'm in relationship with him. How do I deal, and especially now with my emotions as a wife, to make sure that at least I can keep our relationship still live and become a good woman, both in the society and even to him.
Okay.
Two, there are those that you find like maybe he's from the war, he has come back home. What preparation are you doing to me as a wife, so that at least I would handle this man with care, such that he doesn't hurt me because he has been hurt? Thank you.
Again, I will restrict my comments to veterans. Okay? Unless the police want to say something, no. I bet not. Well, reintegration is very, very painful and difficult for military veterans. Because, and you know, I often say, and I think Byron has said it, I think what we go through from basic training to the career that we go through, I feel like it changes us at a very fundamental point of view. You know, I mean, I remember not feeling safe at all, being like outside, and to be able to have a process that helps us to be able to reorient ourselves for the purposes of reintegration is also something that is not automatic. It has actually to be laid out. And for the veterans that I work with, I often say, give yourself 6 to 8 months to readjust and to reintegrate. And never try to readjust and reintegrate without your family. Because the truth is, most military families, most military homes are matriarchs. It is the women who lead these homes. But then you have somebody who is still the traditional African man who wants to be able to still, like, you know, take up those positions that are traditionally there, but practically, in reality, that is not the case. And I really honor the men who, to my question, who is the head of your family, they say the wife. Those who say I am, it's an ego trip. Let's just be honest. Because there is no way you're going to reintegrate if you do not involve your wife. It's actually not going to work out. And that's why reintegration is not just for that person. It's a family affair. Even the kids. You know, I've had people say to me, I was walking from the bedroom to the kitchen, and I heard the children saying, oh my God, Now he's going to be here all the time. How are we going to survive? You know, and they end up feeling not wanted.
Yeah.
They end up feeling they are not needed. But really, it's a question of how do you once again reintegrate the family and bring back those ties of love, compassion, empathy, and affection that actually make up family.
All right, Mashirima, before you come back to you, I'd like to hear, Byron, you mentioned at the height of your PTSD, you lost your family. Was she ever prepared for what was about to come after the experience you went through? And then I'd like to hear also what Senior Superintendent has to say on this.
I don't think so. Zero preparation for what happens majorly with the way we actually also interact is not normal as well, because the lady I eventually settled with was basically someone we'd met. Lives are short, time isn't there. You don't have the luxury of time to date properly and to figure out how things are going to happen. I mean, back in the day when our parents were growing up, they'd send people out to go recce and know what actually happens with their families. So it was really deep and grounded on a lot of things that engendered, interdependencies, and you had a lot of things that you share in common, and so you can compromise on the few. And I think that's what brings people together in terms of what a family has got to be structured on. So in our case, 9 out of 10 you'd be meeting people in bars or in social places or things like that. And so you completely different people reeling away and cohabiting totally different worlds.
Yeah.
Truth is, we are mental beings experiencing a physical living, okay? So marriage as it is, or having a life partner is something that is really grounded and should be grounded on a lot of things that you can enjoy together, and then being able to compromise on the fewest that have to exist, because you are definitely different in areas here and there. So again, there was zero preparation even from the onset. We took off from the blocks with loads and loads of differences.
Okay.
And there's nothing totally wrong with her to have been the way she was, and totally wrong again with me, the way I was brought up, and what I actually had to go through in terms of what the army made me to be what I was. So again, coming to I think what Milka also asked in terms of, and this is in psychology, and it's a principle in psychology they call illusory superiority, where based on what someone called Garrison talked about in a Midwestern town, a fictional Midwestern town where all children are above average. But that is not the way life is. Not all of us are above average. If anything, most is based on a reflection of that adjective most. And where where we are right now, not all of us are exceptional. Okay. The majority of us are average, and of course average is mediocre. So start to think about it from what we hold very dear to ourselves, which is a lot of introspection, a lot of personal awareness, and be that individual within this collective society that's going to be thinking about what you actually want out of your life, and how you're going to move to the next level. So you always, what psychologists call failing forward. So if you meet, and people will go through mistakes, they are there in life, and those are things that strengthen you. So as I said, onwards and upwards. Whatever you can do now to make yourself better, you make your neighbor better, being a brother's keeper, are very vital in life.
All right. Madam Jerry, is there any consideration for this to happen henceforth? Because there's services where you people offer not normal services. You cannot categorize them under normal services. Are the families prepared, and is this something you're considering as a police force?
Okay, thank you, Trevor. What I can say is that the officers are usually prepared. They actually go through retirement training a few years before retirement, and also maybe 2 to 3 years before retirement, most of them are deployed to areas closer to their home, just to be able to reintegrate back into the society. But in terms of the spouses, they're not, I can say they're not really properly prepared for that.
Okay. And is this something you would consider as a police force?
Yes, I think we should.
Because it's clearly coming out from the veterans, what they're saying is that they're not ready.
Yes.
They're not prepared for reintegrating their spouses when they come back.
Yeah.
All right. Mashirima?
Naam, turejee tena kuhusiana na maswali ambayo yanafungamana na mafunzo ambayo yanatolewa kwa maafisa wa ulinzi. Vincent, tafadhali simama.
Okay, thank you, Mashirima. I'm Vincent, a student at St. Paul's University, and I would like to know, is there any rules given to our police women and men to deal with our citizens who are striking, especially our comrades in the universities, so that we avoid extrajudicial killings? Thank you.
And I think it's not just about the police officers. There are also a lot of wananchi who are afraid of anyone in uniform.
Thank you. What I can say is that we should not be afraid of anyone in uniform. Remember, we are also human beings, and we came from the society, and we'll still go back to the society. So what I would encourage even members of public is to interact more with police officers, because again, security is part of all of us, not only for police officers. So when we work together, I think we can have a safer society. On issues of picketing and demonstrating, I think that is clearly demonstrated in the law. You need to officially be allowed to be able to get permission from the officer in charge of that area of jurisdiction to be able to be given your right in the Constitution to picket or to demonstrate, as long as it's peaceful.
All right.
Just about picketing and striking, it's also about how people in uniform handle wananchi. Is there some sort of training in how they handle wananchi? Because I know wanajeshi wanatuona sisi ni raia. Kuna vile ambavyo wanafunzwa kuwa kuna jinsi ambavyo huwezi kuhandle mwananchi wa kawaida, sije kila wakati akimwona mtu ambaye ana uniform anakuwa na wasiwasi. Byron?
Okay.
Jerry should answer that one.
I thought it was going to go to Jerry.
Yeah, most definitely.
But then, I mean, training is, I'll speak for myself and I'll speak for the army, okay? The training is absolutely thorough. But as, just like everything else that we go through, just like the education that you go through, not all of you guys are going to come at the top of the class. Not all of you guys will come at the top of the class. Ideally, you'll go through the same curriculum training, and that's what happens with even ourselves. I mean, some of the things that happen, clearly, the extrajudicial killings that we've heard about are a product of sometimes individuals going beyond their mandate, and there's always that rotten potato in a bag of potatoes, right? There's no training that says that when you go out there, then you take a life that doesn't meet the threshold of it being taken, and the laws are very clear as to the guidelines, and for us the rules of engagement are also very clear, okay? In terms of now the outcomes of the same, and I think I'll expand the boundaries a little bit. We had a discussion on AM Live at one particular point, and our police force was clearly rated, was it number 3? And the streams that were considered were, processes, there were outcomes, and the other 2. Now, in terms of outcomes of your involvement, critical to that is preparation in the first place. So how do we get the raw material that we put through the production process to get a very professional police officer or army officer at the end of the day? Our country is, stuck in the mud with several ills. I've been exposed to people asking me in my back here that we have this boy that he's had his secondary school exams, but right now he's really a pain in the backside of the chief because he's doing drugs and all sorts of. Could you find him a job within the police force or in the army? Do we need that kind of raw material to take through the processes? And what outcomes would you have from such a person when he's now being put through the production process? It's going to be the person who's going to be, yes, well and good, he's been taken through this process, but he's not benefited from it because it wasn't the right raw material in the first place. Okay? So as a society, we got to be thinking, and that's why I'm totally wedded to basics. Even in the community of the deadliest of soldiers in which I come from, which is the special forces, we say it's basics done exceptionally well that make us.
Yeah.
And so you'll find we are totally balanced individuals. We can be the, one thing, one minute, and the next we're the happiest and the the most stable of guys to handle the most serious business of life.
Okay. All right, Mashirima.
Before I take final comments. Swali la mwisho sasa. Sarafina, tafadhali simama.
Okay, asante. I'm Sarafina from St. Paul's. My question goes to the psychologist. I've come to realize that as young people, they have not yet been trained on who they are, whereby you find that they are loving too much until they are forgetting who they are. That is why it's leading to them killing themselves and also hurting others because they don't know who they are. They are so much focused on career-wise unless they don't have the life skills with themselves.
Dr. Gitao, in schools, are you concentrating too much on career that you're forgetting about the human beings in the students?
Apparently, that is coming from a student, and I'm so impressed. The truth is, we are all too busy. The parents are busy. The teachers are busy wanting to give the best grades and putting their schools on the map. But the person, and the person should be whole, body, mind, and the spirit, is forgotten. And that is the child, that is the teenager, and that is the young adult, until it comes to us who are adults. What I would like to say is that even if your parents, and I think this one I echo Mukuria's words, even if your parents were not the best, I want to tell every young person in this country that you don't have to be a mess because you are brought up in a messy way. Because the minute you say, this is the way I was brought up, I am hopeless, I am useless, you're not going to be good to yourself, you'll not be good to anybody else. I like what you're saying about we love others so much. What will make you love another person so much to an extent of forgetting yourself? In the first place, it's because you don't know who you are. Because if you know who you are, and I talk about beginning with your physical appearance, because young people are disturbed a lot about the way they appear. There is actually none like you. Even if people put measures saying, this is the idolized figure, this is the icon, you are unique the way you are. So even if nobody told you, because our siblings can tell us nasty things that make us hate ourselves, our parents as well, through their remarks, I want to tell you today, it will take you to either make or break yourself. And you have to get into a lifestyle of positive statements about yourself. I have failed today in maths, tomorrow I might be better. I'm good in athletics. You will say this if you know yourself. So I emphasize a lot about self-awareness. And I say it is the heartbeat of you feeling good. And in this world, we need to know, if you don't treat yourself with kindness, believe you me, no one will. So it has to begin with yourself, to mind about yourself, and say, it doesn't matter what is happening around me, I will remain kind to myself.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what is going on, I will remain kind to myself. And remember, you're not alone. So we need to understand that there is a connectedness to all of us, actually globally. And last but not least, I would like to say, never ever compare yourself with anybody else. And if anybody leaves you, especially for the young people, have secure attachment to yourself, attachment to your purpose in this life. Because when you know this, you will be left, you are left. Are you still not living? You're moving on. But if you ask Byron where all this came from, at the core of his being, there was a purpose in his life. And I am not preaching here, but I want to tell you, somebody who has a meaning to their life and what they do, they will never destroy themselves. They will not even have the energy to destroy another person.
All right. And
thank you.
Madam Jerry, I'd like to come to you. I'll take those as your final comments, Madam Gitao, because we really ran out of time. And I'd like you to put on your psychologist hat now, because you are part of the team who are now tasked with also investigating these crimes of passion. How do we get ourselves out of it? As a country, we are heading down the wrong path. We can see the killing sprees going on. As a psychologist, how do we get out of that?
Okay, thank you once again. I think I will emphasize, like Dr. Susan is saying, self-awareness is very key. If I'm able to understand myself and build my own self-esteem, I can be able to go through any challenge that I may be going through. Another area is to destigmatize the issue of counseling or seeking psychosocial support, because you find psychosocial support is related to insanity. So you find people rarely go for that help. So we need to destigmatize the issue of going for that kind of help. The other item I think is key is also to create awareness and sensitization on the need to be able to get these services.
All right.
Yeah.
Very well put, Byron.
Okay,
and you got yourself out of it, so you can share your life skills as well. What did you do to get yourself out of that situation, and how do we get out of that as a community?
I'd say this: there's a lot of information that is out there right now, and it's leveraged by, the advancement in technology. It just takes you a minute to, wander into the the online space, so say Google and stuff like that, to just access information that can be very, very vital to, creating answers to your problems. Most of those challenges ahead were purely managed by just my total understanding, so that's the awareness of where I wanted to be, one, and understanding of what I was and what I was not. So no one was able to tell me and to guide my life into what it wasn't. And I invested a lot in self-improvement. It's one of the tenets actually in the army. Most of my friends here would know. Okay? So seeking self-awareness and of course self-improvement as well. So in that line, I can boast of having read tons and tons of books. And that also encouraged my personal development. So I'm able to sit in panels like this. I'm able to carry out really high-end, jobs with clients in and across, in the country and across the borders.
Yeah.
And because I'm able to. And the most important thing that I'd be able to share with you guys, and I raise my hand up in the air like that every day, and I'm able to tell people that I'm incorruptible in this country that is probably now reeling in the worst inertia, where everybody's stealing from everybody else. You are able to make it without getting yourself involved in corruption. I'm a man who says no amount of money can buy me. And if every youth, every person within the borders and in the world at large is able to do that, that is just being able to know what you're worth and your value, and never sell yourself short.
All right.
It's very important.
Major Mkuria, very briefly, we've run out of time.
Wow. So I think it's very clear that the conflicts that we see outside are a reflection of what we can no longer hold inside.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that we begin to look at each other as people who are redeemable. I think we are so busy reflecting on other people our own inadequacies. Everybody is redeemable. Everybody. And I just want to say that we have to find a way, a noble way, in which we can be able to rescue our men without diminishing them, to be able to bring them back to who they are as providers, as protectors, as people who basically take care of the communities. And we also have to bring women to that point where we give them the respect, the acceptance, and the trust that is so necessary. And we feel cared for as women. That's what we need.
Right.
For that to happen without feeling like we're being pushed back into the kitchen. The thing is, there is a way in which we've operated historically, but we are dynamic creatures. Culture is dynamic. Let's move with it.
Okay.
No one person completes another. I'm whole as I am. Byron is whole as he is. If me and him decide to date, we are going to complement each other, not complete each other. You know?
Right.
And I think that's very important to know. So, Trevor, thank you so much for today. As in, really, Gitumbe, I'm so proud of you, and I love you, and everybody else who is here, who is fighting for themselves and fighting for their lives. And for every other Kenyan who believes in the veteran cause, sign the petition and send it to me.
We'll follow up on that and find out who is supporting that petition as well and see how it turns out. That's where we leave it for the Monday Report Town Hall session. Thank you so much for your feedback, and thank you to the audience for asking all the questions, the army-wise, the veterans themselves. And we can't stop talking about this mental health. It's the Mental Health Awareness Month. We'll still talk about this in different family setups, in the children, and everything you need to know will be right here on Citizen TV. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Susan Gitao, counseling psychologist, retired Major Wairimu Mukuria, military psychologist, Byron Adera, ex-Special Forces officer and also security expert, and Madam Evelyn Jerry, Senior Superintendent of Police and also psychologist in the Office of the Inspector General. Thank you so much for making time this evening. That does it for me. My name is Trevor Mbiji. Always a pleasure having you with us. Mashirima Kapombe pia yuko mahali hapa na mimi, ni kama amepotea kidogo. Mashirima, vipi?
Niko hapa tu, nimetafuta pembe nyingine ya kukaa ndio picha ziwe safi safi kidogo tukimalizia, lakini nilikuwa na ngoja pia uweze kunishukuru mimi pia ushukuru wale ambao wameungana nasi hii leo.
Asante sana
na wale ambao pia wametuma jumbe zao. Evans Kinyanjui katika mtandao wa Twitter anasema, this is one of the best Monday report topics. I have stayed more than an hour listening. Life after forces is terrible. This discussion should be continued on Monday report in the month of May. Asante sana Evans, pia sisi wenyewe hapa tumejifunza mengi, na nadhani huu ndio wakati ambapo tunawatazama wale maafisa wa usalama, wawe maafisa wa polisi au wanajeshi, na kuwaambia thank you for your service. Naitwa Mashirima Kapombe, usiku mwema.